We are on a mission to save and revitalize independent pharmacy.
On the Catalyst Pharmacy podcast, you'll get actionable business advice.
Hear stories from industry leaders.
And share a laugh or two with us.
Fuel your passion for pharmacy.
One conversation at a time.
4,
3,
2,
1. Ignition.
Welcome to the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Key, president of PioneerRx, and I'm here with my co-host today, Marsha.
Hi, I'm Marsha Bivins, Director of Marketing for PioneerRx. Today our guest is Nicolette Mathey, and she is the owner of Atrium 24 in Palm Harbor Pharmacy. Nicolette, welcome. So we've known you for years. You go all the way back to your PDS days, so let's start there.
Long time.
Where did you get started overall before you split off from PDS and opened your own pharmacy and then started Atrium? So walk us through the journey.
Yeah, so now that I think back on it, it makes sense, but my parents are both entrepreneurs. They both own their own businesses. So my mom owns a hair salon and my dad's always been in sales. So we never had, stable income or benefits or paid vacation or any of those things. We always just had, I had parents who worked a lot and hustled and just took a lot of pride in what they did and had a great work ethic. So I was the first one in my family to go to college. I didn't even really realize I was, somewhat smart until I got into college. And I really liked science, and I learned about pharmacy, started working at Walgreens when I was 16. And I was really interested in all the memorization of pharmacy. And I loved how, because I'm pretty OCD, so I loved how there's a process for everything. And, you have to do things a certain way. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just got into it that way. And I learned a lot from corporate pharmacy that I liked and that I didn't like. And then I got really deep into transitions of care and helping patients be discharged from the hospital. And there's a ton of barriers there in medication communications. These patients have new diagnoses. They're upset. They don't remember everything that was told to them in the hospital. Mm-hmm. They try to get these new medications filled. They have trouble. They don't take them. Mm-hmm. They're too expensive. They're all the roadblocks. Then they go home. They have new meds. They have old meds. They have new diagnoses. They don't know. So being part of that piece, being the pharmacist in transitions of care for a big hospital system here in Florida, Baycare, that was really rewarding. And there was a lot of business to that too, because it was marketing, which is a lot of what I do right now is sales and marketing and doctor detailing. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you were doing that even in transitions of care because you were trying to meet all the nurses and the case managers and the prescribers and the, round on the discharge teams. Yep. So that part was all really cool. And that's how I got connected with PDS is I was working for Baycare, creating transitions of care programs. I think we created 20 different programs that we would deliver to. I was opening pharmacies for Baycare, meeting with all the different hospital teams and systems. But probably any normal person would have stayed with that career forever because it was really solid, huge hospital system, amazing benefits. But coming from an entrepreneurial family, it was hospital. It was a lot of red tape.
Right.
You couldn't
bureaucracy
move as quickly as I wanted to. Yeah. Yep. And I wanted to help people and I wanted to grow and I wanted to do all these things. And I'm very impatient. So with retail, we all want it now. Yep. And we want to do all the things and you couldn't do that with hospitals. So I met the PDS folks. I went to one of their shows a long time ago. And I actually saw Jason Turner on the stage and he was talking about his sync program and how he had licensed it to PDS and all this. And I knew nothing about independent pharmacy at that time. I knew nothing about PDS. I knew nothing about this whole really cool business sector. I knew nothing about the vendors at the conference. It was just like a whole new world for me. And I was so excited. So I contacted PDS and I said, hey, I built all these programs for all these transitions of care models that your independent pharmacies can all plug in to their local hospitals and health systems.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you want to license all the things that I made, all the workflows and the marketing and the meeting structures and the templates and the timelines. And so I had an hour-long Zoom with Dan, the owner. And at the end of the Zoom, I didn't even think he was still there. I didn't think he was listening. I thought maybe he wasn't interested. I was like, oh, okay, well. But he said, okay, I want you to come work for me. And I said, well, no, that
wasn't the plan.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
I have a job. It's a great job.
Is this on?
I live here in Palm Harbor, like right near Clearwater Beach.
Mm-hmm.
My husband's a fisherman. Like, we're not moving. But he said, no, you can work remote. And this was before remote working was even a thing.
Right.
About a decade ago. So that's how it all kind of started. I was given that wonderful opportunity. And a lot of times now when I think back on it, it feels like that was like my postgraduate education, because I was able to learn so much about independent pharmacy and the business side of owning the pharmacy. So I already knew the patient care side. I already had my doctorate, and I knew how to take care of patients and how to be the last person that they talk to before they put that medication down the hatch, because that's scary.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen. What do I expect? But now I got to learn about the business side, and then going back to how I grew up, it was just perfect. I loved it. I just still can't get enough.
So what describe some of your activities at PDS. What did you do? Like on a weekly basis?
So it was not very structured, and I mean that in a good way. I actually prefer things that way. So I was the director of clinical services, and it was a ton of R&D. So I was always trying to find out, and even traveling and going to, I think I visited over 100 pharmacies around the country.
Okay.
I traveled like 32 times in 1 year, just learning what are all these smart pharmacy owners doing around the country and where are they seeing success?
Okay.
And then how can we turn it into a turnkey program that could be plugged into other independent pharmacies around the country, and just save these owners a lot of time and money and headache and heartache by helping them to put these services in their community and help more people. That was pretty much the job.
Yep. And you did that for how long?
I was with PDS for about 5 years.
And then you broke off and started your own pharmacy, Palm Harbor.
She graduated. It's like broke.
Well,
You're right, exactly.
She
graduated.
didn't break.
Correct. Yeah, that's true. That would be. You graduated.
What was weird about that was I worked for PDS full time, and that was my whole job. And I missed my patients, and I missed being part of a team in the pharmacy. Because, in the pharmacy, it's usually your team, your family. You come in every day, you cut up with them. Somebody's always bringing snacks, but all the girls are on a diet, but we're all eating the snacks. Like if you cut 8 pieces off the donut throughout the day, that doesn't count. So I missed that. I missed celebrating birthdays and being in person.
Yeah.
And I really missed having patients and like local prescribers to talk to and solve problems and create new programs myself and try it out.
Right.
And I'm a really hands-on person. So when I was working for PDS for a few years, I decided I wanted to buy my own pharmacy. I didn't want to just kind of like be on a shelf telling other people what to do. It just didn't feel genuine to me.
Yeah. No, I could see that.
Yeah. So it actually took me 2 years here in Palm Harbor, Florida, where I live, because we're in a heat zone. And so Florida's known for a lot of things, and one of them is fraud. So there's just a lot of regulation in Florida, which is good. But if you're going to start your own pharmacy in a heat zone, it could take you years to get all of your insurance contracts if you're even going to get them. So I set out to try to buy a pharmacy in Florida, but I literally went through 3 or 4 pharmacies all the way through the due diligence and legal, and said no, absolutely not. I even worked on the bench at one pharmacy, and kind of like a working interview type thing.
Yeah.
And there were so many red flags. After that day, I was like, I will never
Oh, no.
come anywhere near this pharmacy. So I finally found one to buy about 5 years ago. And it's funny, when I bought it, everybody was like, oh, okay, so you're quitting your consulting job at PDS, you're leaving, you're going. I said, no, do them both. I said, I'm going to own my pharmacy and I'm going to work for PDS and I'm going to plug in the programs myself and tinker with them, right? It's my real test kitchen.
It's a good
that was
idea.
always my dream.
That's
And,
that's the
I
best
loved
thing
it.
ever is to because I mean there's several processes that I've created for within our organization, and it's not good unless you can eat your own dog food and go, this needs to get better,
Right.
and continue to enhance and
Exactly.
grow it.
And so is that Palm Harbor? That's the one you have to own today?
Yep,
Yeah.
Palm Harbor Pharmacy.
And that's near where, did you live in that area before? That was,
Yes.
so you got lucky to find a pharmacy near where you lived already.
Yeah, I had to. That was one of my conditions because my whole family lives here. Like I said, my husband's a fishing captain. We're both born and raised within like a few mile radius of here. My parents are nearby. His parents are nearby. We have 3 kids, so the 9 of us are a unit. We go on vacation together all the time. We go to dinner all the time. So moving was not an option.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be far away from my pharmacy. I wanted to be in my community
Right.
and be able to help my neighbors.
Yeah, I was just saying, to go through so many ones you didn't get. I mean, there can't be that many pharmacies.
We're pretty saturated
Are
here.
you pretty saturated? Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. That area has exploded too, right? Lots of new people moving in.
Yeah, it's crazy.
House
It's
prices
just
going through the roof.
Oh, the housing market, forget it. Like, you could sell your house for a ton of money right now,
But you can't
but
buy one.
I don't know what you're going to do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's the same thing that's happening here in Texas too during the pandemic. It's like everybody
Yeah.
moved from California and went to Texas, Tennessee, and Florida.
And not just Florida, Tampa.
Yes, Tampa.
Yeah, the biggest pipe from California was into Tampa. in
I
that
found
area.
this really cool heat map that showed, and it started with 2018, and it shows basically the heat map of California and all these tiny little red dots and where everybody is migrating to from California. And it was funny. We actually went to California for a customer visit, and this Uber driver was like, "Oh, y'all are taking a lot of our people." And I'm like, "No, we're not. We want to send them back. They're driving up
Right,
our housing
exactly.
prices.
Buying everything up.
Take them back." They're like, "Yeah, you live near Chip and Joanna Gaines." I'm like, "Sure."
And that started before the pandemic, because I remember when I moved here, 4 years ago, maybe. And there's the grocery store and said we're new. They're like, "Oh, are you from California?" I was like, "No, from
Yeah.
Louisiana."
Well, I think the heat map
the
started
weirdest thing.
2018. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so keep going. So you picked up Paul Harbor and you started doing that and PDS at the same time.
Yeah. And then, I have a really strong vision about what we need to do in independent pharmacy. And I'm frustrated, like a lot of us are. So it has to do with, I've been on the speaking circuit now that we're back in,
Yep.
face-to-face shows, which I love. And that just really energizes me and gives me motivation. But
Oh, yeah.
I talk a lot about, we're all really good operators and we're really good at workflow and compliance and legal and all that stuff. We have that locked in. But not many of us focus on or are good at or invest properly in sales and marketing of our pharmacies. And so I like to think of it as 2 completely different departments in your business, because this is a business. You have your workflow and your operations, and then you have your sales and marketing. And most pharmacies don't. They don't have, and I'm like, who runs your sales and marketing division? And who do you, are you out as the pharmacy owner when I consult with them? Are you out repping and talking to doctors and letting everybody know all the services? And that's kind of extreme, right? Doctor detailing, and that's daunting, but all marketing, that's physical marketing, but how's your digital marketing? How's your
Right.
website? You probably do 80 different services in your pharmacy, products and services and specialties. Are they all listed on your website, every single one of them? Do you have landing pages for all of them? Are you doing social media posts with call to actions? Do you have handouts and flyers? Do you have a strategy? And I'm not perfect at it. It's never done. It's never good enough. So that part's kind of frustrating. You're never done with marketing. But, I don't care whether you're selling pizzas or hats or you own a pharmacy. You have to have a sales and marketing strategy and plan, and you have to be hitting it hard all the time. Because how many times do we hear in my own store, oh, I didn't know you guys did that.
Right.
Or I didn't even know you were here. Or I didn't know. And that's so frustrating because how do we get in front of that? And you'll never be fully there.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it starts with they have to get out of the pharmacy, right? They have to figure out what it takes, whether it's a half day a week to start off with, they got to get out, right? They have to.
You do.
You have to
but
know.
It's outside your comfort zone too.
Well, then you're in the wrong business probably, right? Because you've got to, for independent pharmacy to succeed, they have to be this flexible group that solves problems.
Right.
And every community is going to have different problems to solve. The people we talk to on here that are successful are involved in their community's coming to them and asking them to solve problems. Right. They're talking to public, the people at public health know who they are. Right. And they're not necessarily going in, some of the things that,
they're making relationships with, like not just the doctor's office, but the nursing homes, like Eric Larson. He's a great example of that. We were visiting his pharmacy when he got a call for, hey, I've got COVID vaccines for you. Can you pick them up and dish them out today? And he goes, cool. I know just the nursing home to go straight to with them. And so. Well,
and that was because of his relationship with public health.
Yeah.
Public health couldn't get it done. They had stuff back and they said, we need some way to get this done. Hey, this guy's been in here saying, can I help you? Let's call him and see if he can help us. And that's and I love that, and that's, one of the things that when marketing, people are so often want to be, when they start trying it, okay, well, let me go around talking about me. Let me go around with my brochure that has the 20 services that I have or the 40 services that they have, and let me overwhelm them with blah, 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 when really they need to come in, with the pie or whatever. But really they need to be going in with, hey, I'm independent like you. I'm in healthcare like you. Down the street down here. What problems are you having? You got problems that I can solve, and really listening and then saying, oh, well, we have this thing that might do that. Or just saying, wow, that's interesting. And going back and brainstorming and coming back and saying, hey, I think we've come up with something, how much even cooler than that? Even if you had something in your list, not pulling it out at that time. Going back and waiting until you come back the next time and say, hey, I talked to Dr. and so about a week ago, and I think I have a solution to this problem or a way I can help.
Yep, that's exactly right. And, since so many pharmacists and pharmacy owners are perfectionists and they like to have all the answers, a lot of times they'll get in their own way.
Right.
Just like you said, they'll say, oh, I'm fixing to go out there and I'm fixing to go market, but I need to get all my materials right. And I need to get all my... No, just go out and talk and ask them questions. Exactly like you said. You guys know that we have Jen Roleski who works with us. She's our Eli Lilly trained farmer rep. And it's so funny. She's been actually Atrium turns 3 on Monday. So the consulting firm Atrium 24 will be 3 years old.
Congratulations.
In a couple days here. Yeah, thank you. And so Jen's been with us almost the whole time. And her coming from pharma, I learned so much just by picking her brain and understanding, like, how did Lilly teach you? And what did they teach you? And what kind of technology did they give you? And what were the metrics? And how did they determine, like, your territory and your goals and your messaging and just all the things? And it's so fascinating. And it's funny, we even made it a verb. You just need to go and Jen Roleski them, which means ask them a bunch of questions.
Right. Yep.
So, like, me, I don't know if it's because I'm a pharmacist or if it's just my personality type, but it makes me kind of uncomfortable to go up to someone I don't know and ask them a lot of questions I'm more comfortable, like you said,
Really?
talking about myself and even making fun of myself. Like, I don't care. But I don't know. It just feels a little off to me to go and ask questions, but that's what you have to do.
Yeah,
That's surprising because every time we see you at PDS, you're like, hey, I got a question. Hey, I got a question.
Yeah, it seems to me.
Because I know you guys.
It would seem to me that it would be scarier to feel like I needed to be prepared with, practice in the mirror, other than just, hey, just go talk. Just go ask them,
Yeah.
how can you help them? That
Maybe
kind
that's
of,
why, maybe that's why pharmacy owners are scared because they think they have to have it perfect.
Right.
And, they're not just going to pop out. They're going to want to have the whole plan. Well, let me plan out my marketing structure for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
It's like, just go.
Yeah, I think that's it. You just need to go. Start with making an appointment at your local public health, right? And go down and sit down and talk to them and say, hey, what problems can we solve? Because they're always needing staff and the high schools and the other. And I just think it's the same way, so, whether you're selling pharmacy software. So often you'll get somebody on the trade show floor and they want to, well, let me show you blank, 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 blank. And half that stuff may not apply. You want to start off with and really learning about a person and what their challenges are and what problems can you solve for them. So that's interesting. All right. So you got Palm Harbor going, and that led into and you left PDS and decided you wanted the full entrepreneurial picture. Imagine that probably that time commitment was holding you back. So then you started Atrium 24. And what's the goals of Atrium 24?
So Atrium 24, very specifically, I wanted something from our technology piece that was very specific. And I'm not there yet, but we're actually very close. We're launching a new piece of software within the next couple months. And I truly think it's going to revolutionize everything we do at Independent Pharmacy because, and I've wanted this for over a decade, we have so much data and we have so much technology that we all use on a daily basis. Too much, probably. We all have too many dashboards, too many logins, too many reports. There's never enough time in the day. So I think what kind of started me in this thought process about a decade ago was I don't like free text and I don't like wasting time on just where is my time best spent? Or if I'm going to get on a phone call and talk to a pharmacy owner, I just want to be able to look at a quick dashboard about what's going on in their business and be able to understand exactly what I need to see as Nicolette, like what's going on in that pharmacy so that I don't have to get on the phone and ask them all these questions that could have been answered by data, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So
back to the not liking to ask questions.
There's a huge data component to consulting that I don't think has been tapped into at all yet. I mean, it seems like in the industry, and this is completely my opinion and how I feel about it, but it seems like in the pharmacy industry, you have these SaaS companies, so like straight software companies, dashboards, and you log in and you use the thing, right?
Right.
They might have customer service or whatever. And then you have consulting firms where it's completely free text, it's completely relationship based, it's completely a feeling, right? And you might be able to calculate some return on investment in consulting, or does it make you feel better? Does it make your life easier? Those kind of things. But those are so intangible to me, and I'm so data driven that I'm not comfortable with that. So my dream is to merge the two together and to be able to consult with data and software, and then to be able to actually use your data and software when you're consulting. And it's, for a decade, I've worked in, jobs where we had the data, but I still had a ton of questions.
Yeah. And pharmacy's hard.
It's very hard.
Of course, we play right. We want to give better data to the customers, but the hard part of the data of pharmacy is all your DIRs and GER and rebates that may or may not be what you expect them to be. So you start thinking about KPIs and things like that. It's really, really everything's just very retrospective. It's very 3 months from now, I need to have a good accountant. Inventory management, cost of inventory of goods, not well tracked. It's weird, again, because of the rebates. It's really not what I paid for it or something like that. So what kind of stuff, when you're looking at data, what kind of things are you looking at?
What's interesting to me is I always go back to the sales and marketing. So there's tons of software companies out there. And I mean, we use Pioneer in my own pharmacy, of course. And I love the software. I love how robust it is. You guys are constantly updating it, and the industry, what's going on. You have some really smart people in the industry who use your software and who provide a lot of feedback. Mm-hmm. So that part's good. I'm not trying to reinvent that part. I'm not trying to reinvent operations and workflow. I mean, even at Atrium, we work with a lot of companies who they are software companies, SaaS. They offer analytics and tools on all those things you mentioned about your inventory, about your workflow, about your DIR fees and your Medicare plan comparison selections and all that stuff. That's not my favorite. So what I like to focus on is sales and marketing and business growth. And then using data points to track that and to actually tell me, okay, if I'm going to, like you said, if I'm going to spend, as the pharmacy owner, if I'm going to go out every Tuesday and go visit and rep, just tell me what to do. And the data can actually tell you exactly what to do.
So you're more focused on the owner workflow, the workflow of being a business owner. So like you said, it's marketing, it's sales, and then it's operations.
So the data can tell you what type of doctors you need to talk to. Is that what, or what locations to go to? I guess where your patient zip codes are coming from and that kind of thing.
Yep. The data can tell you everything you need to know about sales and marketing, as far as who to visit, why, with what message, when, where, what's the optimal route to take, how do I keep track of it, what are some triggers and alerts and all those things. And those things are in our new software. But you can't just have that. You also have to have consulting. And so Atrium actually has a handful of pharma reps on staff now who consult for our pharmacy owners, because we'll have some of our clients call us when they're in the parking lot. And they're like, okay, I'm going into this dermatology office. I'm providing a lunch, and we have to teach them all the nuance about lunches, right? There's an art and a lot of nuance to providing lunch at a provider's office to make it as valuable as possible. So we help them, we coach them through all that, but they just kind of need a pep talk sometimes when they're in the parking lot. What am I saying? What am I asking? What am I doing? When am I going to follow up? That's where I like the consulting piece to be. I don't want to spend our consulting time doing things that a data platform could have done for us. The consulting time has to be from the person to person, and more of like the relationships and like coaching, like pumping you up, like, okay, you're going to go in there, you're going to ask them, do they currently write compounds? Do they send anywhere? Do they like pharmacy? Do they have any problems? Just like you said, you're going to ask them questions. This is what you're doing.
So what marketing or sales books are you kind of recommending for them to read to help get them energized and inspired to go out and talk to people, get out of their comfort zone? Because, I mean, that's what some of these books do, is they help inspire and get you kind of pumped up to go, okay, I read this chapter. I'm so pumped. I'm ready to execute this thing I just read. So what would you say are your top 5 books that you recommend?
Do you know what's funny? I don't like business books.
Okay. So no books whatsoever.
No, I feel like we have enough to do, and our industry is so complicated and so multifaceted and so unique. I read a lot. I read 52 books last year, but they're all just nonsense.
Just
they're
kind
all
of
to
checking
turn
out.
my brain off.
That's just entertainment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Which is funny because, I have a business coach, and, every consultant that I've ever talked to likes to recommend books and everything. Do you guys read books? Do you like business books?
Yeah. I mean, I'll listen to some on the way to work sometimes, or flip between that and a podcast. Or if I'm sitting somewhere too long, then I'll open up the Kindle app on my phone and flip through. The one that I really enjoy listening to, and I've listened to it a lot on repeat, Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. It helps with just overall negotiating and answering problems, and really helps with negotiating with children, teenagers.
Yeah, I think you need to have a source of ideas. Okay.
Yep.
So that source can be podcast. That source can be
Audiobooks.
It can be TED Talks. But you can't invent everything in your head. I can tell you that I have never read a section from a business book and not applied it to something that day.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if that rings true.
And Kelly Babcock also, like a lot of her stuff, I mean, she reads a bunch of marketing and self-help books, and she's applying them in her world and in her talks.
Yeah, there's some things that aren't, but if they're getting it from a person, you can get it from somebody. You can get it from a class, or you can get it from but there are certainly things in my mind that aren't intuitive to people about how, especially Chris Voss's book on negotiation is really powerful. Just simple things and techniques when you talk about reflection, posing somebody what somebody has said back to them, giving people air by doing that. It's great. That's who is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where he tells the story of his son who came and telling him he wanted to quit school, and how that conversation goes poorly by the parent going, "Oh no, you can't quit school. School's super important, and I did school and I did this," and instantly that conversation became about the parent, and the difference of reflecting back and giving that person air. So you want to quit school.
And then they feel like they have to
talk.
Explain.
And it comes out that he was being bullied, and nothing about wanting to quit. He just it was bullying at school, and the parent going on about how important school was had nothing to do with what was actually going on, and you needed to get air out by just reflecting back what the person just said and just pausing and listening and giving them the space. So those are things that aren't intuitive, and you got to get them somewhere. You can get them on a podcast. You can get them in a book. You can get them. Now, I think
I could see that.
I think business books are, many times the first 2 chapters are everything, and the last half of it is something.
There are some of them that I'll start to read, and then after you get through the first 3 to 4 chapters, then the next one starts to repeat, and you're like, okay, I've already read this. They're just seeing the same thing, but different characters.
A lot of my formative was Zig Ziglar and all of his sales tapes and stuff at that time. I didn't get to go see Zig Ziglar in person, but I've probably heard his tapes a 1,000 times. But I definitely heard. I've worked with people before. I had a boss at one point who was that way. I don't like business books. Well, hopefully, a person who's not getting business books is surrounding themselves by people and getting those, and getting things that you can build upon. Even current, and we read a lot of, in early on days, read a lot of marketing books and stuff like that. And when Pioneer got started 14, 15 years ago, we were like, oh, hey, we got to sell. I guess we need to figure that out, how to do that, right? And you had some Ziglar background, but you talk about the Red Book of Selling, and you talk about things like that, and you start studying. And
Little Black Book of Contacts. Yeah, I mean, everything you've been talking about Atrium, I was like, Little Red Book of Sales, Little Black Book of Contacts, Gittimer. That's a great starting point too, and it's a really small book.
Books on discount strategy and not discounting and how you place. There are a lot of things like that, and hey, we got to market. Well, Purple Cow. Really thinking about what that means, how you have remarkable products and things like that. So you got to get it somewhere, and you got to have a way, though. And I think maybe what I hear you're saying, the one thing is, if you're doing it how they're doing it in the book, you're not the best at it. So you got to try to figure, because everybody's reading the same books. You got to look at what.
Well, it's reading the book and then putting your own flair on it.
Right. You got to be able to take it. What's the next step?
Right.
Right. What's the, pretty much, I would say over the last 14 years, we've out-marketed the competition at Pioneer. And whether that be SEO or whether that be, but that's knowing what was out there and trying and taking it to the next step and trying to go outside of the industry. A lot of times you have industries that aren't as progressive in one place or the other. And I think independent, even pharmacy, I wouldn't say that Walgreens or CVS are excellent marketers. So I think there's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, that's just about convenience. And for independent pharmacies, Purple Cow is the perfect beginner marketing book because it's about, how do you look different and get their attention. So people are driving by and going, oh, I'm going to use that community pharmacy instead of the Walgreens, the same black and white cow I see every day.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we get jaded because, like people have been doing marketing for a long time and they think, oh yeah, okay, Purple Cow, that was 15 years ago. It's kind of what's new.
Still applies.
But it's still very applicable.
It is still very applicable.
And to somebody, this concept about how do you make, her dad's air conditioning business, he painted all of his trucks bright red.
Yeah, they are all
bright
fire engine red with
air conditioning trucks.
Well, with massive size yellow lettering on top of this red, so you can see them a mile away. And it was the best advertising ever because he could just drive around and they go, oh yeah, cool, there it is. Instead of it being
you're the guy
another,
with the red truck.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I like that.
Yep.
So do you put so you're building this Atrium software to kind of pull and tell people what they're due. Is there and marketing, is there a digital side of that? Are you pulling digital information into that? Are you looking at SEO and keywords and placement and like local Google traffic, reviews, that side of that? This is a detailing software.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is physical marketing.
Yeah, the
person to person.
It's
It's the relationship building.
Yep. And of course, digital marketing is so important. We invest a ton in digital marketing here in my own pharmacy. Our website is really great. We have over 900 5-star reviews that are all organic on our pharmacy site.
Nice.
We're constantly adding 2 new landing pages a month, 2 new blogs a month, always with new products and services. Florida pharmacists were just approved to test and treat. And it's pretty unique. We can now test and prescribe for flu, COVID, strep, UTI, and skin infections and lice.
Wow.
So we're putting a clinic in my pharmacy and we're actually separating it. So when you walk in, to the left is the pharmacy and the dispensing, and to the right will be the check-in and the clinic, but you can do all the online appointments and all the things we got really good at during COVID. So we're really trying to separate, even in the patient's mind, that this is kind of like an urgent care, but better, because you can we have a full suite pharmacy that's attached to the clinic, and pharmacists who are medication experts who are actually seeing you.
Is that without an agreement with a doctor? So the pharmacist can just test and treat on those without any kind of relationship?
We do have to have an agreement with a provider.
Okay.
But it's just standard. It's just like your vaccine protocols.
What does the provider get out of that agreement?
The provider, and this reminds me of Amina. I've worked really closely with Amina for years, and we built programs together back in the day. And the provider gets to, if it's just something acute, like you have a symptomatic patient who might have strep or something, that's really clogging up the provider's day.
Okay.
And they would almost rather see more chronic patients and patients that they can bill out for more complex visits. So a lot of times they don't mind sending just acute type appointments like that honestly they can't bill too much for. They don't mind sending that to you.
Do you, though, do you refer to them if that patient isn't, if you, they have sore throat and stuff, you test them for strep, they don't have strep, do you say maybe you should go see this doctor, or?
We do. So always in all the protocols, there's an escalation plan, and it's like, if this, then this, or if this, then this. And so there's always places where you have to refer the patient. But it all comes down to your physical marketing and your relationships. Do you have a provider who you could just go ask, like, hey, will you sign off on this? We're all just taking care of people in town. And we have quite a few who sign off on our protocols here.
Your husband's a fisherman. Wasn't he a fireman?
Yeah.
At one point, or
Yeah.
worked, and then he decided to or y'all decided together, like, hey, cool, I'm just gonna go to fishing, and he does tours, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's a good memory.
Is that deep sea fishing or
No.
It's just
inshore?
Inshore? Okay. And how is that business going?
This has been his busiest year ever. He got shut down a little bit during COVID.
Yeah.
And so he actually homeschooled our kids for like 10 weeks, which wasn't his favorite, but I had to work, I was here at the pharmacy.
Yep.
But back in the day, so we've been together since high school, and we got married when we were 21, and he became a firefighter like right about then too. And I remember we were at the church and, going through all the premarital like courses and aptitude tests and all this stuff. And our priest, Father Joe, was like, okay, everything looks good here, kids, but because we were like 19, 20 going through the courses, he said, everything looks good, but you don't have jobs. So how are you gonna?
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, it's okay. I worked part-time at Walgreens, and then I was getting ready to go to pharmacy school. So the spring we got married, I started the graduate portion like the last 4 years later that year. So I wasn't able to work much, but he got hired as a fireman like right around then, right when we were like 20, 21. So he worked as a firefighter and a fishing guide because he had always fished. And so he started just doing like charters, fishing captain here in Clearwater Beach area. So he was doing both. He was super busy. And then he supported us while I was in school. And then I graduated. And right when I graduated, we started having kids. So I graduated in 2010, and we had our kids in 11, 12, and 13.
Oh, wow.
And so, and so he was still doing both fishing and firefighting. And so I told him, because I had spreadsheets going on who was taking care of the kids, like in the morning before he would get home.
There's that OCD.
So I could go into
there's that OCD.
Yeah. So I could go in the hospital and start working, and like we had neighbors and moms and everybody helping us out. And then finally I was like, okay, you need to pick one. So which one are you going to do? And of course he picked the one with no benefits or no, real stable income. But I mean, it was scary when he was a firefighter because he was on a lot of really dangerous calls. And he was gone for like 26 hours at a time.
Yeah.
He was gone on holidays a lot of times. And so it's anybody with a loved one in like that type of service.
The service industry. It's scary.
Well, you should be to help him. His marketing should be all over the place, right? This should be.
See, I knew he went to y'all were starting that, and that was going to be his profession. And I've been like thinking and considering like, maybe I should just bring Mark down there and like send him off with your husband fishing. So
Mark has a friend who lives
in Tampa. They're like an hour north of Clearwater.
Right. Friend is from the military.
From Air Force,
good friend. They went and visited them a couple of months ago. Yeah,
we went to visit them in April because it was his best friend's birthday. And then they met us up in Savannah when we went to go pick up Mackenzie from SCAD. But so I've been meaning to bring him down so he can, because he loves fishing. And every time his dad threatened to take me out on a fishing boat, I was like, okay, you do. I'm going to jump out of the boat and I'm going to swim circles around it just to scare the fish. So
it's nice here, like Clearwater Beach, and he stays inshore.
Yeah.
So you're never far offshore. You don't get seasick or anything like that. So it's really pretty.
Yeah. They went fishing in Savannah and around Hilton Head and Tybee Beach. So that was, and they caught a few things.
They were fascinated that the redfish weren't red.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I guess in the Atlantic,
and on the Atlantic
redfish
side,
aren't red,
they're
and
not
they're
red
in the Gulf.
And
Maybe they're red in the Gulf because all the.
They're darker.
What
I
now?
guess.
No.
I would say they're more like gold or like like a dark color, and they have that big black spot on their tail.
Yeah, I think they were more the ones they caught outside of Savannah were more silvery than gold.
Yeah.
So first baby was 2010, so that means you're starting 7th grade this year or 6th grade.
Yep, she just started 6th.
Oh, wow.
So 6th, 5th,
Yeah.
and 4th. Are they just like boom, boom, boom? 6th, 5th, and 4th?
6th, 5th, and 3rd, because he's an October baby, so he was the next year.
So they get along well, being that close together in age, or?
They get along pretty well.
It's 2 girls and a boy. The boy's the younger one.
Yep. The boy's the baby. He's the prince.
That means he's annoying sometimes, but cute, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's how
he's adorable.
Mackie acted with Cohen. It's like, okay, you're cute. No, you're walking and talking now. You're less cute. But they're back to, it goes into a love-hate relationship, but now they're back into loving each other. So, like, they missed each other while she was in SCAD for 2 weeks. It was so funny because when she saw him after 2 weeks, she walked up and hugged him, and he's like, I'm a new man. She gave me a hug. And then
that's
talking
sweet.
about how, you know, when people are talking about their family, she's like, my brother's nice. And he was like, let's go get a lottery ticket. He was so excited because now she likes him, and now he's huggable and he's nice. So
yeah, I know. When we took them to eat this week, they sat by each other. Mm-hmm. They're like, my wife was like, y'all are sitting by each other. It's usually
It's funny with
girl.
the 3 kids. It's like when the 3 of them are playing together, there's usually a problem. But if it's 2 of them, it's better. So they kind of like take turns on who to pair off with, and then which one plays alone.
And who gets ganged up on.
That's usually the best.
Is there like a gang up situation?
No, they don't gang up yet.
No.
They just, I don't know. The oldest is the diva. She's exactly like me, so she's just she's really organized, but she's really bossy at the same time. And if they're going to make up a game, she's like, okay, you're going to do this and you're going to do this, and then we're going to do it like this, and then we have to, and they get frustrated because they're like, why do you get to make all the rules? And she's just
little mama.
When she plays by herself, it's better.
When is any fun family vacation coming up or just passed?
Well, we just came back from the Keys. That was fun.
Where at?
But it's
Key Largo.
we went to Marathon. We go to Marathon.
Okay.
Every year, and we rent a big house. So my husband loves people, and I don't all the time, but he'll invite everybody to everything. So we had 17 people, I think, in this house.
Oh, wow.
And it was
that is a lot.
10 adults. Yeah. 10 adults and 7 kids, and we had like 3 boats and all kinds of dogs, and it was fun.
Goodness.
It was a good time.
The water's pretty down there for sure.
Yeah, it was nice.
Did y'all do snorkeling and?
Yep, all the things, all the Florida things.
Yeah.
All the Florida things.
I got to get back down there to scuba.
Yep. So we're divers, not snorkelers.
Yeah.
So last time we went down there, actually it was funny because our master diver was guiding us, and I had my GoPro with me because I'm like, I'm going to sit here and video and take pictures, all that. And we saw pufferfish, we saw nurse shark. She was like, hey, she turned around and she was like, hey, I'm going to take your picture. And I go to get my GoPro off my wrist, and I look back up, and she's going, shark right behind. And Jeff was behind me. And I turned around, and a black tip just went right over his head and then cruised to the right. And it was like, and I was too stunned. I was like, this is awesome. I didn't even get it on my GoPro.
Yeah, I used to be like, well, sharks will get you on the surface. You don't see them coming. I get that. And I said, but underwater, you would see them, and you'd be able to do the thing where you touch their nose and you push them away. And then I guess I didn't get the whole 360 concept, And so here I am, in this shark just that's a black tip, not gonna do anything, but it's still like, yeah, okay. It was like I was in Montana once, and I said, you just outrun a bear, you were all laughing, you just gotta I just gotta outrun you.
The confidence is high in this one.
Yeah. And then we actually saw a bear run. So this bear ran across the street and back, and it was so fast. I was like, yeah, no, he's going to eat you and then eat me too. So,
right, exactly.
When nature attacks.
I tell you what, so my husband's out on the water just about every day, and he does not get in the water. He does not, because he sees huge bull sharks and all these like really aggressive and they'll eat his fish a lot of times, especially if he has like a big tarpon on the line. Hammerhead will come up and eat your fish like right when you're reeling it in.
Oh, wow.
And so
he doesn't get in the water.
No.
But y'all get in the water.
No more than ankle deep.
Yeah, he'll let me jump in. I jumped in to swim with a dolphin like a couple of years ago, me and my friend. And then it was a great idea until we were in the water and this huge creature is like swimming between us aggressively. And I was like, I don't know about this, because it was much bigger in the water when it's right next to you. So.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Huh. I wonder if the dolphins might protect you from the shark, though.
Maybe.
I mean, there is a video of a woman who was swimming with a humpback whale, and the humpback whale was protecting her.
Really?
Yeah. Like I saw the video, I was like, that's kind of really incredible. It kept bumping her and moving her away and like actually coming at her and like trying to push her away. And she was like, I don't know what's going on with this thing and why it keeps trying to push me. And then she gets out of the water, and once it's out of the water, the humpback whale was like, okay, cool. And then she sees the a fin she said it was a great white that was off in the distance that was coming close to her. So the humpback whale was trying to get her back on the boat. And she got it all on video too, and it was really cool.
That's crazy.
So are y'all going to have a show now that we're all back to in person? Are you going to have a Atrium 24? I think we just...
I still have a lot to do on the sales and marketing side, but like the biggest need that we're seeing is just all things sales and marketing training. And so before the pandemic, we had a whole training studio set up, and my goal was to bring people in and train them on doctor detailing and all those sorts of things. But it's funny because all the pharmacies around the country, they're so different, as you know. And we would all love to be able to find that like sales rep that could come work for the pharmacy and do all the things and be the right person. But that's one of the biggest challenges that all of my pharmacies have is finding that person. And then once you do find that person, imagine everything that you have to set up. So legally, there's a ton of compliance that has to take place. There's a ton of, we talked about reading. I have read a lot of the books that you mentioned. I guess I don't count them.
You don't count them.
They got mixed in
not all of
between
them,
50 Shades of Grey and that stuff, so they don't really count.
No, like all the Purple Cow and all the things and the 7 Habits. But I'll have to go. I loved Rocket Fuel about like your integrator and your visionary. But I read a ton of like OIG indictments and the DOJ and all that.
Okay.
So
you should read Steve Voss's it's Steve Voss, right? Chris Voss.
Chris Voss.
You should read that book.
Yeah.
That Never Split the Difference.
All right, I will.
Yeah, it's a good negotiating.
Just for you.
No, it's a lot of even if you just got the Cliff Notes. I think you would find some value of that. He's real down on compromises. If you want to wear black shoes and your wife thinks you wear brown shoes, you can compromise. You wear one black shoe and one brown shoe. That doesn't work out. So a lot of time compromises aren't a good thing. You really have to decide.
And especially as you're starting to hit the teenager stage. Definitely
yes,
helps.
that is true. Yeah, I would pull out every tool you got. That's would be a good book for teenagers. I agree with that.
Yes, prepping for teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all the help I can get.
So you're
there.
thinking more training sessions, things more like Kelly Babcock's doing now, where you have smaller group come together and you take them through a workshop. That's probably more appropriate, I think, for what you're doing. Now you're also doing paid detailing, right? Are you still doing that where a pharmacy can pay you to do the detailing for them? Is that
somewhat
still experimenting with it?
We have it in pilot phase right now. We have it going in 3 different states, 4 different markets. It's the full spectrum. I tell pharmacies, whether, that's all the way. That's like the best white glove service, where Atrium actually has hired sales reps around the country, in markets where we have a really strong pharmacy on the operation side who I know can deliver what this rep's going to go out selling. Yeah. So we hire the rep, and then, we onboard them, put them through all the compliance and all the training, set up everything that so time consuming and pharmacy owners don't know how to do, because this is all new to us. Everything from the position agreement to the expectations, daily, weekly, monthly, accountability, tracking, incentivization, and all these things, motivation, coaching, holding that rep accountable. So we have a rep manager on staff who manages those reps, talks to them every day, looks at their expenses, looks at all the things that you have to do. Benefits, we offer them benefits, and you have to be competitive with pharma. And like pharma sales rep positions are really well paid, and they have benefits. So if you're going to bring in a ringer pharma rep in your town who has active relationships, who does things by the book, it's going to be expensive.
Right.
So every pharmacy around the country is not ready for that, and they don't have the budget to bring on that employee. But we do have some in some markets where we've started to make those connections and started to work on that, and it's going really well. But that's all the way. That's like maximum service.
Right.
So on the other end of the spectrum, we help a lot of pharmacies where it's like, okay, nobody has ever gone out and detailed, and you don't even know where to start. So this is where you start. This is who you'll go visit. We'll look at their data. This is your message. We'll custom brand it all for them. We look at like reimbursement data in their area. We look at all the products and services that they offer. So I like to say we look at your patients, your payers, and your passions, and then create a marketing plan with you. And then we hold them accountable, on actually executing that plan. And it works. It's completely different and customizable for everybody around the country.
Gotcha.
Super cool and different. I don't think anybody else is doing that today for independent pharmacy.
No, they're not. I mean, you'll have other consulting firms that are doing
Different stuff.
Here's how you start MedSync. Here's how you
Our finances.
Right.
Yeah, our finances. But no, that's super unique and amazing. So.
Well, it was great talking to you. I think we're at our hour, but it was good talking to you. It's cool, all the stuff you're doing for pharmacy. We thank you for doing that and for being part of the bigger team. I know you like being a part of the team.
Picture
We're part of that big team trying to save and revitalize independent pharmacy. And looking forward to you be at NCPA?
Yes.
Good. We have to come by and say hi. We're going to have a Catalyst booth.
Yes.
So we're going to be have
nice.
a big video wall behind us and inviting people who've been on the podcast and stuff, or people who have ideas for people, other people who they recommend being on. Kind of come by and tell us who your heroes are. Let's see if we can get them on the podcast.
Oh,
so.
that's cool.
Who's your hero and how did they inspire you? So we'll be doing that at NCPA. So we look forward to seeing you
Marsha's
there.
practicing it's me. No.
Of course, that's what I would say.
That's right. All right, Nicolette. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you for watching the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast.
If you enjoyed today's episode,
Please like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help us reach more pharmacy professionals like you.